20 views on our first podcast. And after our first, I so accurately went to ChatGPT, my favorite, and started updating the podcast thumbnails. So I started off with ours because it's the newest. Goddamn Tardis
Can't stay in one place.
We always say she doesn't go where you want her to.
She goes where you need her to, and right now, that's the floor.
So I got to ChatGPT and I said, 2 people stumbling onto an abandoned TARDIS, and that's what we got. And I thought it was very accurate. The podcast thumbnail on the playlist that we started on the Perjangers and Wallhangers YouTube has that, so you can know exactly what you're getting into. And went through a couple iterations, but I like this version of the TARDIS blue.
Yeah, I think it's cute.
And
very girly pop.
And even, the house we had a version of the TARDIS blue. There's many different colors, and that's the thing. Yeah, the best thing about the TARDIS, because you have Matt Smith blue is different than Capaldi and Tennant and Tennant / Eccleston, because they kind of had it was the same color, same machine. But you had Matt Smith blue was lighter, and then they went back to the darker and darker.
Yeah, well, I think too it kind of mirrors his current state of mind a bit with that, because like we were saying last week, Matt Smith started towards the end of his run being darker and grittier, and then when you get to Capaldi, he's got all this internalized anger, and it reflects in the color of his TARDIS.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, just even through the whole goes that they get, Matt Smith had the most interiors. Yeah,
he did.
Because he had only two or three?
2 or 3. I can't remember which.
3 by the end.
Yeah, yes. It was different.
3 different interiors on that.
Yeah.
But you had Capaldi got 2 different Sonics.
Yeah,
because he had Matt Smith's into his own, which I like his.
But then
Sonic.
he also had the glasses, the Sonic sunglasses.
Let's not talk about.
But I love the Sonic sunglasses.
Oh my god! I don't like Clara. You like Clara. I don't like the Sonic sunglasses. You love the Sonic sunglasses. That's only fitting. For some reason, that's only fitting.
You got some great differing perspectives here.
Well, yeah. I mean, all right. Favorite companion then? Would it be Clara?
It would be Amy. Amy
okay.
Pond, hands down. I just that. You know what? Now that I'm watching classic Doctor Who, that's a more difficult question to answer.
Well, yeah, I haven't gone through classic Who because out of the normal run, I gotta say one of my favorite companion is Rose.
No, that's fair. My sister's favorite is also Rose. And I think a lot of that too has to do with where you start. Mm-hmm. Because last week we were talking about how you started with Eccleston.
Yeah.
I started with Matt Smith. Mm-hmm. So for you, Rose is top tier. For me, it's Amy.
See, Amy is number 2 though. She is my favorite Ginge.
She's so good.
Love her.
That's almost blasphemy because we can't forget about Donna Noble. Everybody loves Donna Noble.
Donna is the shit. She's a badass
so
woman.
I just recently rewatched all of her specials, the newest ones, and I love her so much.
Donna was a really good character, and giving her, and that's what I like about what they did with the writing with it, because with Donna, they gave her the happy ending like Rose got.
Right.
Yeah,
because Rose had her war doctor basically. Mm-hmm. He was the he committed war crimes at that point. Well, yeah. So that's the reason that Tennant left him.
Yeah.
And then you got I lost my train of thought there.
And then you have Donna with her family with the doctor.
Oh my god, I love her family.
It's a separate. It's almost like David Tennant was the happy uncle.
Yeah. Well, that's really how they ended it, because you've got David Tennant, and then you've got the 2 parents, Donna and her husband,
and you've Donna's daughter.
Yeah, Donna's daughter Rose. You've got Sylvia, Donna's mother, and then you've got crazy Auntie Mel.
Yeah,
Melanie just decided that she was part of their family as well.
Why not?
Sure. I love for her.
But
nobody else will ever be able to see the things that they've seen. Nobody else will ever be able to talk to them about that the way they can talk to each other.
There's not like a, Doctors Anonymous. That's UNIT.
Well, there is now because, Graham at the end of Jodie Whittaker kind of created like a doctor support group for previous companions.
That's true, too. I mean, look, traveling with the Doctor is hazardous, and that's where we get into this episode today, which I forget. I forget what they called it. Last week's was Lucky Day, because last week's was the well.
Yep.
Because ironically, you kept calling it Midnight, and I was like,
did.
You know what? It's kind of fitting because that was
comparing it to Midnight more so.
But I mean, coming off of the well and our predictions from this, I got to say, I was right.
I really thought that,
and I'm so happy
we would get Belinda and Ruby together, and we didn't. Not one time. Belinda was there in the very beginning, and then you only got the Doctor in the beginning and at the end.
Well, I loved that it was just Ruby, because this was going along with the companion kick here that we're talking about, because when you had Rose, she got her happy ending in another universe with the Doctor. Martha got Mickey.
She did. I love that still. I'm so happy that they found each other, and that.
Donna had a whole family.
Yeah.
So now you get to Amy. She's in time with Rory. They ended off great.
Together, yeah.
Now you get to Bill. You know what happened to Bill and all the companions and Clara. All right, all this is tied up nice. All right. So what is it like after you get out of those doors and you're like, nah, Doc, I'm done? Because now
it's going on with your life.
It's like opening the third eye. Once you open your third eye, you can't close it again.
Yeah, you can't go back to how things were before.
And now you see the danger that's around everybody.
She specifically says that she's got some form of PTSD. She's in fight or flight mode at all times now. She's just waiting for the other shoe to drop.
It was really a very well done episode on Russell T Davies' part by just saying, what is it like after you get done this adrenaline fueled ride with the Doctor? Well, turns out you have nightmares.
Yeah, don't get me started on Kate motherfucking Lethbridge Stewart.
Oh my God.
She had some of the most powerful moments in this episode. I was screaming at my television screen.
Well, I like this episode also because it's telling the tale of a person who's dealing with PTSD from all these different alien encounters. She went toe-to-toe with a god.
Yeah.
It's not every companion that gets to fight a god, It's only a couple that you actually get to fight gods and shit, and now she gets to fight gods. She, and then her taste in men, not good.
Not great, unfortunately.
Not great at all.
That's kind of on him, though, because he tricked her.
Well, yeah.
He was the nice guy until the coin flips, and all of a sudden, the way my heart dropped for Ruby in that moment when he revealed himself to everyone that he was
the free thinkers against UNIT's charades, because this guy believes that UNIT is just making up stuff to fund, which is kind of like I liken it to the people who think that the moon landing was fake.
Right. Well,
only to find that China went around and they're like, hey, it's right there. There's the lander. It's still there.
It is still there, guys.
Still there.
For me, it evokes anti-vaxxers.
Yeah. All that kind of misinformation.
Right. Groups of people, specifically white people, who do not believe in police brutality. Yep. And I really feel like they were touching on that at the very end.
What do you mean? I don't see it.
When Conrad looked at the Doctor when he was in the TARDIS and said, "Get off my planet," the anger I felt in that moment for him, and it's he says, "I don't accept your reality." Yeah. That's red-pilled ideology, and it's dangerous.
But you see his childhood of he has this early interaction with the Doctor where he goes to tell his mom, and she beats him.
Yeah.
Because she's partying and having drinking, obviously mother of the year.
Clearly neglected and abused, and he wants somebody to listen to him. So if he can spread these lies, he can get people's attention.
And that's where...
And he can get famous.
That's where it really kind of ties in. Okay, he has a podcast talking about the Doctor stuff. Oh, he's linking with Ruby because this is finally somebody who's listening to him. And you're liking this guy. You're like, all right, Ruby finally got one. Graham, her parents, everybody's getting shown off, and these kids are going places. She's opening up to him.
The first time that he gave me a bad taste in my mouth was when she was, everybody was at the bar locked in basically, and she was walking around, and he came up to her and said, "We can be like you and the doctor." And to me, that felt so grandstanding.
Yeah.
Whether or not, because obviously right after that, we got the reveal about, who he really was.
Yeah.
But, even if we hadn't gotten that reveal, that is just such, I don't know, it's so shitty.
It is a shitty thing to do. It's a real shitty thing to do, honestly.
What, bro, what?
That was wild, though.
He's so self-important the entire time. You can't do anything to me because I've got a camera on you.
Well, that's also the best part.
There are millions of people watching you right now.
And that's the best part of this episode because you don't get the doctor. You briefly get him, but...
Right, he's in the very beginning, and then he's just at the end there.
And that's the best part. Beginning and almost like Blink, it's all about the core, what's happening in this episode. And then you look at just, okay, what is this guy? How is he getting stopped? Well, Unit being what Unit is. Oh, you're going to wish the doctor was here.
Oh my God.
And he did.
I really, really agreed with Kate when she said, "I'm glad the doctor's not here because he'd try to stop me." And
he wouldn't let me do this.
Girl, I'm glad he's not here too. Do your fucking thing, Kate.
The door opens up and I was like, good.
Yeah, this is what he gets.
And I was like, hey, elevator's not going to work, bud.
For him to experience that, with the body cam on and everything, and then after, Ruby came up and tased the monster, he stood up and goes, "Well, your special effects are getting better." I wanted to shoot my TV screen with a gun.
Oh, my God, but that's how it would be with the disinformation. You could have an alien in front of them, and they'd be like,
you can show them the truth right in their face, and they'll still deny it.
Well, it's like when you take those flat earthers, and they took them, and they were like, "Oh, well, where's the ice wall?"
Yeah.
Show me. And they don't. You could show the person logic, but at that point, I thought that was so perfect. How up until the end, he still believed that this was, and it's the perfect kind of villain for the doctor because he's not an alien. It's a human.
I loved the fact that the monster was not the villain and the man was.
That was one of the cool parts that you see in some of the early Who. Like, my favorite one is the Aztec episode with the first Doctor. And there's no aliens. The villains are people. And the people are the whole reason why you're in this drama. And that's what is beautiful about this. Because you think, oh, he's a podcaster. Clearly, this man is doing the right thing. And it's all just a trap.
He kind of reminded me of, God, who was it? I think it was in Eccleston's season. Somebody it was the guy that was kind of tracking the doctor. He was a little bit obsessed with him. You know what? It might have been David Tennant because it was the kid where he was like, "I saw you when I was a child." And I never forgot. And he, had to tell him that because the kid thought that he had killed his mom, but it was an alien that had killed his mother. That, David Tennant was there to stop. But from his perspective, it looked like a man broke into his house and killed his mom,
Yeah. And that's the fun. Those are the fun episodes to where you realize, oh, he's here for a reason. That's what I loved about this episode because you see him, you're like, oh, don't walk the other way. Oh.
And that's, you know what? I can't blame Kate for that either because she is literally just doing her damn job that entire time. The purpose of Unit is to protect the world from aliens, under their noses, basically, which, there's arguments to be made for how moral that is, because you've got this entire room of locked boxes of these creatures that, and even Kate says, if the technology in here gets out, it could destroy the world.
Yeah, they probably have a lot of stuff that you don't want to get into.
I mean, they've got the time windows and stuff. She said, imagine that in the hands of a dictator.
Oh, yeah, no, just stuffing people in paintings and shit.
There's that moral quandary there where it's well, is this something that the public should know about?
Yeah, let the cartel get a hold of some of those time windows where they can just stuff their product in there.
The reason that the public is ignorant to it is to protect them. And there's also an argument to be made there that we have whistleblowers currently within our own government and stuff who are giving correct factual information and letting the people know what is actually going on within our government.
Well, yeah, and then you have like the declassified UFO files and stuff. But the cool thing I like about this episode is they flip it on the other end of the spectrum. Is that we all know the aliens are real, but are they?
Yeah,
they're actually fake. That's the most ridiculous thing. You would have asked me what was the most ridiculous thing. I would be like, I don't know. People thinking the Earth is flat. Here we are in 2025.
People think the Earth is flat.
So
newsflash, guys, it's not.
You know, so the internet will make people believe whatever they want, but that's the beauty about this is like you're looking in the Doctor Who universe every Christmas, an alien tries to take out London.
Every single Christmas.
Like, why would you live in London on Christmas?
You've got the whole, there are a few times when the Doctor is just, like, wiped out of all historical record and everything. So, like, I can understand why somebody would turn around and say, well, this is all fake because they don't have those memories. Like
the best is Donna because she never saw the aliens.
Anything.
She was always preoccupied with something else.
And then you've got Clara Oswald, who as Oswin, the Dalek, erased him from every Dalek database and everything in history. Nobody knew him anymore after that point. Yeah, he was fresh.
They did a lot of, pulling out the old time eraser.
Yeah.
A lot of retconning.
But then there was the whole David Tennant situation where it was like, people stopped remembering what happened with the cigarettes on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And he's like, how do you not know that there were planets in the sky?
Yeah, there was.
Did you not look up?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there was always that little bit, but now that's why I like, oh, yeah, of course aliens exist. Yeah, everybody knows that. And yeah, they protect us. Just knowing that, and that's the normal, thing for people to actually have in the normal nomenclature. Like, everyone knows aliens exist. Everybody's okay with that. Yep, just go about your day. Hope they don't crash into Big Ben.
See, as I'm watching currently, for anybody who's been listening from the previous podcast I was talking about where I was at in Classic Who, I've seen 2 or 3 of the Third Doctor serials now. And
it's karate.
I have gotten a lot of Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart.
Mm-hmm. That's the time because he was
that was his first appearance was with the Third Doctor.
Exiled to Earth.
Yes, the Second Doctor was force regenerated and exiled to the planet Earth, so he cannot use the TARDIS currently. He's just kind of stuck dealing with like Earth's problems, which is like it's a perfect time for a unit to be, like, brought in.
And it turns out the Time Lords did not like that fucking recorder either.
No, they really didn't. I mean, that brings me back to earlier when we were talking about favorite companions, and I said, watching Classic Who, it's hard for me now to, like, really pick a favorite because as an Outlander fan, I am in love with Jamie McCrimmon. The Second Doctor's companion. He's from Scotland, 1745. If you didn't know, he is the direct inspiration for Jamie Fraser from Outlander. I have the, Diana Gabaldon compendium of, her talking about writing Outlander, and she says that she used to watch reruns of Doctor Who every Saturday because it would be just enough time for her to paint her nails. And, when she was writing, she had to figure out where to start. And for her, it was a time, a place, and a main character. And she really liked the character of Jamie, which, I don't blame her. He's a chivalrous guy. He's super handsome. Love you, Fraser Hines, but, like, only in the 60s. I'm sorry. He's, like, 80 now.
It would be weird. It would be weird.
But, like, yeah, he is. If you watch that series of Doctor Who, like the Second Doctor stuff, and then go and watch Outlander, Jamie Fraser, Jamie McCrimmon are the same person. Like, quite literally, they are basically the same person.
See, my favorite out of the old is probably Tom Baker. I love Tom Baker.
I haven't gotten there yet. I'm still in the Third Doctor, John Pertwee.
Because Tom Baker worked in construction up till, like, he got the job at Doctor Who. And he would go to work in construction, and he's like, I'm going to be the next Doctor Who. And everybody just be like, oh, my God. And then just the picture of him hanging on the side of the wall with the scarf hanging down. It just symbolizes who he was as a doctor.
I am very excited to get to him.
I love his doctor because
there is 5 seasons of Pertwee though. That I have to get through first.
There's a lot of really quotable moments that he puts out from the doctor that they use.
I think actually he was the one that they took the Conrad quote from. Him saying, I reject your reality. I think that was a direct quote from the Fourth Doctor.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it, so I don't know what the context to that is, but I have, been seeing stuff about it.
The quote is on my, it's on like the tip of my tongue, but it is a really good quote. And, it was the incredibly foolish. I think it's something comparing like the difference between the incredibly foolish and people who are wrong. I'm very much massacring this, but
I don't know.
How the benefit is that the people who are wrong don't know and they keep going forward, something like that, and how dangerous that is.
Yeah, with the third Doctor, I've gotten quite a bit of Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart. So what really got under my skin is when Conrad turned around and called him a coward. Like that was it for me, and I was sitting there. I was like, "How fucking dare!"
Oh my God, yeah, no, that gets under your skin.
Brigadier Lethbridge
and
Stewart.
you're just like, and when he talked about the Brigadier, I was like, oh, you better shut your mouth.
Yeah, you better shut the fuck up before I walk into this.
You're
TV
lucky that Cyberman ain't around right now, because he would open up a can of whoop ass on you so fucking quick.
Oh my God, the way that Kate stepped in front of his gun and said, "How dare you point a gun at her?" Like that was. That really, like, I got chills from that line.
Oh, yeah. And just stepping in front of her, because at that moment, Ruby is really fucking shook.
Yeah,
she
she
just had this guy
humiliated. She got to know him for 6 months.
And then
she thought they were in a relationship.
And then he proceeded to drag her through the mud in every single PR campaign.
Yeah, you saw her sitting, on her couch at home with her mother and grandmother
just
and
crying.
Just sobbing because
my God, yeah.
All the networks and stuff were airing stuff about him being like an innocent influencer, like he wasn't creating actual civil unrest.
Yeah, but that's the thing about it, is that's what makes that scene so beautiful, is how much it pisses you off, and you're just like, how dare you?
How fucking dare you?
She's going through stuff right now. She needs a moment
because of you.
Oh my God. And it's just like,
was great.
It's wild, because you take that out of context, and that's like a story you'd hear from your friend about how crazy her ex is. And then this guy is on like the talk show, and I love how Doctor Who will grab out the anchors from BBC because they're not doing anything else. They just stop on by the studio, we'll get that banged out, and they get their different anchors in there, and free work right there. You're already paying them, so that's a win-win. But it was a really good episode. The next one looks so crazy with the spider.
Oh my God, dude! Oof. That one's gonna be interesting.
Because what I've been doing is there's Doctor Who Unleashed, which is on their YouTube, and the guy goes through, talks to people behind the scenes, which I always love the behind the scenes stuff, and he shows a clip from the next episode. And the next episode, there's back and forth, and all of a sudden the Doctor's hanging out of some kind of temporal door, spaceship door.
He's always just hanging out of stuff,
and then it pans back to see like this gigantic spider. And
I'm a bit of. I was actually just talking. I had gone to a party yesterday, and I was talking to some people about Lord of the Rings. The most impressive thing that Lord of the Rings did to me is in the third one, they have this spider. There's this giant spider that Gollum takes Frodo and Sam to, because obviously he's trying to get the ring. And I was watching it recently, and I was sitting there, and I was like, "Is this practical effect?" And I looked into it, because you could see the hairs on this spider. And this movie, mind you, came out in 2004, 2005, I think. You could see the individual hairs and the light reflecting off of them.
Oh, yeah.
I looked into it. They tried using practical effects.
Yeah.
And it didn't look right. So they did 100% CG on that spider, and it is some of the most impressive CG I've seen to date.
Well, yeah, because you look at stuff like that, and especially the stuff that ILM does. Industrial Light and Magic has been just a juggernaut in the industry, and especially you look at Pixar. Look at what Pixar did with Monsters, Inc., and how you look at Sully. They mapped out all of those hairs in the physics of those hairs.
Insane amount of work, dude, and they made it look so good.
And that's where, especially the magic of it is just being able for people not to be able to tell, is that CG or is that a practical effect? Because you look at the costumes and they're practical. But even when it came down to those giant automatons with Belinda in the first episode, I'm like, all right, you could have gone either way on this, but that's practical. Yeah, and I know that's a guy in there walking around. Just like the Zygons. All right.
There's something always going to be super special to me about practical effects. It's just like I know that it's a lot more expensive these days to use practical effects than it is to use CG. But when they do use it, it's always a hit.
Well, yeah, especially with the intros. That's really where it hits with Doctor Who is those CG intros. I love Ncuti's intro. I think Ncuti has like one of the best intros.
Yeah, they started that intro with the David Tennant specials, I noticed.
And that's the one thing. Going through Doctor Who on Disney Plus, it's the only time where I see the skip intro button and I go, how dare you?
How dare you? I will
How dare you ask me that?
Maybe I have been watching this for 5 hours, but I will watch the episode, the intro.
And I do not appreciate the judgment. Yes, I'm watching this intro too.
Yup.
Every single one. Mm-hmm. And I parody because
I know it's the same, but I'm watching it anyway.
Well, I parody the song and I sing to my dog, Link. So I parody the Linky Doodle song on a lot. But Doctor Who, oh yeah, that's when he gets belly rubs.
I always do the
he loves Doctor Who. Oh yeah, he loves the whistle. He loves the whole Doctor Who theme, and that's our time in the beginning. And then, all right, Daddy's watching the show.
I just rewatched today because, like I said, my mom. I've been getting her caught up. We just watched Boom, was the last one. But I was watching the Beatles episode, the one right before that. Loved that episode. And
very relevant, especially after this last one.
I'm still really impressed by the way that they had Maestro playing the piano for the intro, and it was a really smooth transition into the regular intro.
I've been impressed with all of the places and time periods in last season and this season with Ncuti.
These 2 seasons has been phenomenal.
Because it looks like we're going somewhere either in Africa or
it looks like it's
and
somewhere.
I can't wait because whenever you look at whenever I look at the articles and they're like, oh well, what are you gonna do with the Black Guy in Time? Like, hey dude, there was a whole continent with a whole bunch of history you can have fun with. Why don't you let the Doctor go back and talk to the Kingdom of Kush?
Did you guys forget about Africa?
Yeah.
Like, hello?
Oldest one. Everybody came out of, let the Doctor go back there.
Yeah.
Let him have fun in history is so much better. And even when they go to the parts, like with Lux, to where it's in, they have that scene in the diner, like, oh, yeah, you could get arrested right now just for that.
Yeah, I was about to say, the way they've been able to touch on racism with him, being that he is a black man, that's why I feel like the scene at the end of this most recent episode was so visceral. In its delivery because he looked at him in the eyes and said, "Get off my planet." It felt so racially charged.
It did, but it's also something to where he felt like he had one over. Like, oh, have you met Belinda Tandra yet?
Yeah, he did.
And he's like,
who?
Your spoilers don't mean anything to me, dude. Like, what do you mean?
I dealt with River Song. There's nothing you can do to impress me at this point.
Okay. Oh, my next companion.
Great for you. I was really disappointed that he gave him the you're gonna die alone and forgotten at the age of 49 when your heart gives out, and then Mrs. Flood.
I know that really
unlocked the door. That's
that was a kick in my stomach because I was with the Doctor. I was like, yeah, you're gonna die alone. And I was like, what are you doing? Leave the door shut.
She did say, I'm the governor. And I don't know if that is in reference to being the governor of the prison that he's locked in, or if that is the title that she's going by.
Well, yeah. See, you know what? And this is another thing. It's one of my crazy theories.
Because we do know the Doctor's a fugitive.
You remember how I told you I wanted more of that Time Lordy kind of characters?
Yes.
I hope she's a Time Lord.
I do. I know a lot of people have been saying that they think she's the Ronnie, which I haven't gotten there yet, obviously, because I'm still in my classic Who.
Well, yeah, and Time Lords are dicks. So
yeah, everything we've seen of Time Lords so far, they're just assholes, and the Doctor knows it, and that's why he acts the way he does towards his own. The second Doctor when he was exiled, and he was like, you could stop this suffering, but you're choosing not to. And they're like, we're just supposed to be observers.
Yeah.
And it's like, why though? We could be so much more. we could, rewrite pieces of history. But, then you get into Time Lords like the Master and stuff where, like, it's kind of the unit issue where it's like, what if this falls into the hands of a dictator? Yeah. Like, you don't know, you can't predict other people.
And the Master is, he really showed you, especially David Tennant's Master, his name's escaping me right now, but his Master really showed you, hey, this one person who's in charge of your country, this is what it would be like if they got in charge. And especially with the Master.
The Harold Saxon stuff and him making the Doctor a creepy little old guy.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that was the last time, and I was thinking about it since our first episode. That was the last time where they really did something audibly that it was all. You didn't even have to have the drumming.
No,
all you had to have was somebody mention.
We do have that now.
Yeah, exactly.
With the toy maker and the laugh.
And that's where I think
chills every time I hear it.
And it really locked in my head because they were both Russell T Davies.
Yes.
And it's just like evolution of his writing.
He seems to enjoy like audible storytelling, and it's really
little,
expertly done.
That little Easter egg of just all they heard when they came out of the well was a laugh, and then oh no, there was this theme, and then you see Martha doing the tap.
Yes.
And I swear, like when I was first watching Doctor Who, once I got to the Master, my old roommate would yell at me because I would randomly just start drumming.
Start doing the drum beats. Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun. He was like, I will slap you. Stop it.
And it was so well done because, you had like he will knock 4 times. And obviously because the drum beat is in 4s, like you immediately connect that with the Master. But it ends up so being beautiful. Wilfred.
That was so beautiful how it was the Time Lord's heartbeat.
Yes. And it was the heartbeat of a Time Lord. And it's like, wow. That's
being
great.
Driven insane by your own heartbeat.
He stared into the what was it, untethered schism?
Yeah, of the time vortex, which you're not supposed to do. Or no, they did that for fun. That was your rite of passage as a Time Lord. Was all right. Now look at this untapped schism.
I believe that.
What have I looked at?
Yeah, I believe they had him stare into it for longer than necessary. And that's what drove him mad. Yeah. And then it was just the Time Lords themselves sending him, and they caused him. That's how much of an asshole these people are. Do you realize that? They drove one person crazy by sending the heartbeat of a Time Lord through time and space. Into his head. His whole life. Do you hear it, Doctor? Just so, like, from the edge of space and time. Here are the Time Lords like, hey, you sending that heartbeat still? Good. Good. The drums, the never-ending drums. Oh, my God. And then, like, hey, the drumming gone? Oh, my God. Oh. The relief you see. It's such a relief. Oh, my God. The relief you see from the actor's face, that was so perfectly done. Because you're like, man, I would feel good, too. If I could hear my heartbeat, like, my whole life. All the time. And then one day, it's just stopped. Gone. Yeah, that's magical right there. But then we don't know where the Master is right now. Because the last we saw him is when the toy maker mentioned that he played a game with the Master and won, and as punishment sealed him inside his gold tooth. Mm-hmm. And then, the toy maker gets defeated and the gold tooth is left behind and somebody picks it up. I bet you that was Miss Flood. I bet you it was because it's a woman's hand. Yeah. And it's got the red nails. Especially after the last episode and this episode. She is clearly gathering enemies of the Doctor for something, and we don't know what. Well, yeah, and especially if you look at it, we're at episode 4. Yes. So that's mid-season. Yeah, because I assume we're only getting 9 again. Yeah, so we're mid-season. I figure next week we'll probably have a bigger reveal of something with Miss Flood, maybe towards the end, but they'll most likely I think they'll start ramping up her involvement because I think we're going to see an answer to Miss Flood by the end of this season. Yeah, I think we'll get the most in like episodes 6 and 7, honestly, because if there's going to be 9, they'll probably want to do like a 2-parter for the last 2, especially if it does end up being Shushu's last. Because they're going to be showing them in select theaters. The last 2 episodes. Yeah. So they're going to be showing them in select theaters. They love a 2-parter. Yeah, so they're doing both of the last episodes, which tells me that is a very big key sign that you're probably going to find out who what Mrs. Flood is doing.
she's obviously doing something in time because we've seen her from the Shooty's beginning. She was in that Belinda Chandra because she was the old woman in the machine.
Yes.
And then she's just popping up everywhere. That Clara Osgood effect for the Doctor.
Yeah.
A person.
Oswald.
A person reoccurring in your time stream at different points. That is always a good.
I think that's what makes me like Clara so much is that she was dispersed. She saved him. She was dispersed through his timeline so she could save him every time he needed it.
See, some of the best episodes of this new Who has been written by Stephen Moffat.
Yeah, he's usually
he's just a brilliant Whovian. Not that,
really good.
And I love Russell T Davies, but Russell T Davies brings him in to write.
Yeah.
You know, he'll write an episode, he'll direct, and then he has his director, which Russell, call me. I would love to. But I will swim over there right now.
Call me. Let me be the next companion. I'll be really good, I promise.
Even if it's for one season, oh hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That'd be dope. Just like I was saying, just get all these a nice good run and then have a good companion showdown with all of them. Because it's not like they were writing out Millie. They loved working with Millie, and she loves the character. I was watching the behind the scenes, and she loves this last episode because it just gives so much depth to her character.
It really does.
Especially with that one episode in the Celtic region when she walks over the
73 yards, I think.
Yeah, 73 yards.
Or 72 yards or something.
That episode was...
That's the next one I've got with my mom.
She's had one of the roughest goes, companion-wise.
Yeah.
Because she had that episode where she lived a whole life without him.
This is her second solo episode that we've gotten.
But technically, this version of Ruby wouldn't remember the old woman.
She wouldn't know that.
But, I mean, from a companion's perspective, well, her and Amy, because Amy had that whole side, remember with the white robots?
Yeah.
She had that whole side time bubble.
Oh, God, don't even get me started on that episode because then...
God, that was heartbreaking.
Then, obviously, Rory has to make this, huge decision. And the Doctor turns to him and it's like... You can take only one Amy, so choose. And he looks at him and goes, "You're turning me into you." Mm-hmm. And it breaks my goddamn heart every time. Because then they have, it's almost a parallel of, Tennant and Rose. But, when, Rose gets trapped in the parallel universe and they're touching the wall on either side. And you've got Rory on one side of the TARDIS and her on the other touching the door together. It's so well done.
See, that's why I love the story of the Ponds. Because
oh my God, me too.
The Last Centurion, oh my God, he waited for her.
Can I just say that the first television thing to ever make me cry, real tears, was the Pandorica. When the Doctor is saying goodbye to Amy.
Oh, oh my God.
I will start crying right now.
Oh my God, I'll well up,
thinking about it,
The Last Centurion waiting for her and protecting her for 1,000 years in this crazy fucking universe.
2,000.
2,000 years.
He followed that box and he said, Rory, you're gonna remember all of this. This would be agony to do this. And he's like, tell me the truth. Would she be safer if I stayed? And he just
without the drop of a hat, just
He said, then why would I leave her?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
And then the young Amy Pond, which is
Karen Gillan's cousin. Yeah,
which is
I found that out well later, and
perfect.
I love it.
Oh my God, the Fez.
Oh yeah. Him the Doctor dying and telling them that he's dead. They witness his death, but that's not the truth. He knows that he's got so many minutes left.
The perfect timey-wimey episode was the Pandorica because you're just like, all right, now where's the mop come in? All right, well, there's the mop.
Oh, man, and then you've got, obviously, River's song in that episode, and they get married in that episode because she just physically cannot handle... Actually, you know what? I think that was in the Silence. Mm-hmm. That was with the Silence. She,
oh, my God, some of the creepiest monsters
all of history was happening at once.
Yeah,
and
that was a great episode.
I forget the line exactly, but she was like... because he was like, is all of creation being destroyed? Is that more important than me? And she was like, yes, or no, it's not. You're way more important.
Yeah. Well, and then you see on Timelords when she's having this whole rant, and then she goes to slap him, and he just catches her hand, and you're like, oh. He's like,
and then
I've always been able to see you.
Her speech in the Capaldi episode where she didn't know him the whole time, and then like she's going on this whole rant about like the doctor isn't stupid or selfish enough, and he certainly doesn't love me enough.
He's not stupid enough to be right here.
He certainly doesn't love me enough to, you know, to be standing in it with me. And she turns around and looks at him, and he goes, "Hello, sweetie." And I lost my shit. Absolutely killed me.
Oh, yeah. But that episode, that was one of the best ones because then you see him on Beryllium.
Yeah, and they get, you know, she goes, "How long is a night on Beryllium?" And he says, 24 years. And I'm like, oh, my God, that's his wife.
Because in the library, you show up with a new face and a new suit.
You showed up on my doorstep with a new haircut and a new suit. And you took me to see the Singing Towers of Beryllium.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
I'm going to cry right now.
Such brilliant writing. So that's where I love that era of Stephen Moffat because River Song, Amy Pond, having all that. And then you get into Clara, which was a good companion.
Yeah, a whole other can of worms.
But it was a lot like, you know, what River Song said. Loving the Doctor is like loving a mountain range.
No, it was loving the Doctor is like loving the stars themselves.
Yes.
You don't look at you don't expect a sunset to admire you back.
Yep.
Oh my God.
That was brilliant.
River Song is definitely, you know what? I honestly think I have to put River Song at my number 2 companion above Clara.
Yeah.
Because I got Amy, I've got River,
she
and
knew
then
how
Clara,
to drive the TARDIS correctly.
Was beautiful. She said, "It's not supposed to make that noise. You leave the brakes on."
There's no what? Yeah, you're not. It's not
supposed to do that, bud.
Oh my God, that was perfect. It's like the warning alarm has been going off in his car, and he's like, "I love that sound." And then you find out like
that the TARDIS is the one that showed her how to drive it because it appears, you know, when she attempts to kill the Doctor for the first time.
Yeah.
And you know she's just regenerated into River from Mel's.
Yeah.
And she poisons him with a kiss. And he is dying, and it takes a really long time for her to, you know, Amy goes, "Show me River Song."
Yeah.
Oh, to the, you know, the whatever the little people in the suit.
Yeah,
suit, you know. And she gets in the TARDIS and goes, you know, forward in time and uses up all of her regeneration energy to save him. And he's like, "You shouldn't have done that."
Yeah, and she really, technically, if you look at the Timeless Child, she didn't need to.
No, she didn't. But also, at that point, it wasn't retconned in yet. So.
Well, that's true. So you have that right there.
But then you do have that same parallel in Daleks Take Manhattan. When he yells at her to get her wrist out of the Weeping Angel's arm without breaking it.
Yep.
And she pretends like she did, and then he goes to grab her arm, and, you know, obviously her wrist is
Gives
broken.
it a little Time Lord touch, and she gets mad.
She heals it, and she's like, "How dare you?" She goes, "Let's see if my wrist is working properly," and then slaps him.
Yeah. Like, all right, Doc, can't win today. Can't win today. Just take that one alone, you know. But that was brilliant writing, and I think we're getting that again, especially with the last couple episodes. This one was, you know, just well done all the way through.
Absolutely. Like, and then, I was locked in the whole time.
And then when you do see the Doctor, you're just like, oh, okay.
Now it's time for you to get an earful, buddy.
Oh, my God, because it was brilliant. They had the little, well, it was this arm, but they had the little thing over his wrist.
That is, like, I love that,
from the monster biting down on him.
You know that he's going to have that for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
So he is going to have permanent evidence for the rest of his life that aliens are real and one attacked you.
I would love for that to be, like, the reason why he gets unmade later. Like, the Doctor finds a way of taking that off, and then the alien just comes and eats him. I think that would be a fitting end for that guy because
he deserves like the absolute worst punishment. Like honestly, I kind of wished like the whole time the Doctor had him in the TARDIS and was like, you know, giving him the speech and everything, I kind of wished that he had just kind of dropped him off on a space rock somewhere and left his ass there. That's what I was hoping, but
it's
and
also,
of course you got Mrs. Flood.
He did the companion, or he did that villain role right. And you hate him instantly.
Immediately. Like, the second he reveals himself, it's immediately, like, an ick. Because it's like, oh, my God, you're in one of these kinds of podcasts. Like, you're an asshole.
Your fans were already in on the joke. and you released it, got in deeper. Ha ha.
And then to have all of his friends that were there meeting Ruby and being so nice to her, recording her and laughing at her, like that was rough.
That was rough, yeah. Well, especially, and it just speaks to the whole theme of the episode of, like, you are the correct one in the room, but you're getting laughed at.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful, especially in today's day and age. And
there's so much misinformation floating around.
It took the monster of the week out of it, which is what people were complaining about. Old Doctor Who, like, oh, it's monster of the week. Okay, well, there's no monster besides human beings being human beings.
You've obviously got the shriek or whatever it's called. I think it's the shriek.
Yeah. And that's not even the problem.
Like, right, like, and it's interesting too because like the shriek is a very instinctual based creature, meaning that like it's a predator and you are its prey, which is something obviously we see in nature all the time. Mm-hmm. So you cannot fault the shriek for attacking.
Right.
Because this is its dinner.
Well, yeah,
it has marked you as next.
Yeah.
It's just doing instinctually what it's supposed to do.
It'd be like getting mad at the tiger for eating somebody who climbed into its enclosure, you know?
It's like getting mad at a tiger for eating its main food source.
Yeah. Like, that's even better, yeah.
That's what it was doing. It was a wild animal, basically, the way that they posed it.
Yeah, yeah. You know, you can't get mad at a wild animal if it's not happy with the vegan, vegan chicken wings you give it.
Not the unit employee, the one that Kate is obviously sleeping with, by the way.
Oh, yeah. They're definitely an item. Like, I'm just working late.
And being like, oh, last night went too far. And she's like, he'll live. And I just like, I disagree with you, buddy. I don't think it went far enough. I'm going to be, I kind of like wished that the monster had torn him apart.
Oh, yeah. I went too far. I kind of think you could have gone further.
Is that evil of me? Maybe.
He still has both limbs, okay? It could have went a lot better, all right?
I do kind of wish he had like lost half of his arm in that instant. Like,
lose the arm, and now we're talking. After that, you're all good. But, it was a really well done episode. It was bringing stuff back to Who that I think was long lost.
Yeah.
And it takes somebody like Russell T Davies to say, okay, what were your complaints about that? All right, well, I'll fix that in one episode.
I've noticed too that they are picking apart the original Doctors, like because obviously with the Beatles episode, you've got him telling Ruby that like I live over there on Trotter's Lane. Like, right now, it is 1963, and I am over there with my granddaughter, Susan.
Uh-huh.
And I do think that Susan exists in, like, currently. There was I had seen a post about, I can't remember the woman specifically, but which episode was it that he used a spoon to, like, defeat?
Robin Hood.
No, this was Shooty.
Oh, Shooty did use the spoon.
I can't remember which episode that was in, but it was the woman who gives him the spoon. People are speculating because she says multiple times that he has a nice face.
Yeah.
And it is, proven by, like, Russell T. Davies and stuff. They've said that, like, Time Lords can recognize other Time Lords through, past their regenerations and stuff. Like, they can still, there's still, like, the sense that, like, I know you.
Yes.
So I'm really wondering if maybe she could be Susan because she's about the same age that Susan would be. Yeah. They have similar features.
I was about to say, how crazy would it be if Mrs. Flood was Susan?
No, I don't think they'll do that.
Just a twisted kind of...
There's always a twist at the end, though.
Yeah, I mean, if that's how if they brought her in as Susan to save the day, that would be like tears flowing.
Well, because then you have, like, obviously... Susan.
People
Susan
have wanted
Triad.
Susan to come back.
Yeah, you've got Susan Triad at
They've
the end.
They've been playing with it.
You for the whole season, you think like, oh, her name is Susan. Like, is this our Susan? But like, obviously, it's like there's always a twist at the end. So like, it was a trick.
And they've been teasing Susan a while, even from back when with Bill and Capaldi.
When he talks Susan about having had a granddaughter.
Yeah, and they're teasing him, and because I think the fans all want Susan to make a comeback.
And he did leave her on like a future version of Earth with a man that she had fallen in love with, and this woman that the Spoon Lady says that like she had a husband once, but she can't remember him.
Yeah. See,
so
that would be
I'm
a
really
good
curious
poll.
about that.
That would be a good poll because I do remember that Spoon Lady now. That was a really good because I'd like Susan to come back, just like I'd like the Doctor's daughter to come back. I mean,
Jenny.
It's not like David Tennant's wife is that busy.
You got Georgia Tennant. And,
she can make time.
You've had David Tennant back already, so like, and we know Jenny lived.
Mm-hmm.
We know that after the Doctor left, she regenerated.
She regenerated, and then she crashed on the moon.
Yeah.
So she could still live after that crash, you know? It was just kind of finite of, all right, there's that trip, but I want to see the Doctor's daughter come back as well.
I agree.
I'd love the Doctor's daughter to be more, you know, a nice little, like, it's a lot like what we got with The Well, of a follow-up episode we didn't know we wanted.
I loved that you still never saw the monster.
Yeah.
Like, the Doctor, I think, had a glimpse of it.
You get a glimpse of it, and then in one of the scenes, you kind of see eyes in the shadows.
That episode immediately made me start crying because of the deaf girl.
Oh,
like,
my God.
It was just immediately like, oh, my God, stop pointing guns at her. Stop it. I don't think she did anything wrong.
Well, that was another thing that I like about the new Who is how they do pick an actual deaf girl.
Yeah.
They pick an actual disabled woman.
Absolutely.
The woman in the wheelchair,
acting.
she's not acting. She can't walk.
Oh my God, that was another thing. I'm so sick of like people like turning around and being like, "You're faking it." Like when Conrad
she's
was
really
saying, this one collecting Social Security that we're paying. That made me so fucking mad.
Oh man, yeah, no, that one was just like, all right, bro, that's a low blow right there, even for you, man. That was piece of shit.
You were already a piece of shit.
Oh yeah.
And now you're like now you're just straight up evil.
Yeah. I mean, that was like I said, it was a really well done episode of just making human beings the villain.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that one was probably one of my favorites out of the the Shooty run. And he's had some really stellar episodes too.
You know what's interesting? So I said, I've been talking about the Third Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I have just finished his first encounter of the Silurians.
Okay.
Watching that is the same exact plot that they used with Matt Smith and the Silurians, where it was like, they were drilling down basically, but it was some kind of like laboratory, like research center, and the Silurians were stealing power from the generator to like wake them up basically. They were like, there was only a few of them awake.
Yeah.
And then, the Silurians, people start going down into the caves, and not everybody is killed.
Right.
Like at first, and the Doctor's like, okay, so we have this like giant dinosaur that's clearly like kind of an animal, but then we've also got a way more intelligent form of life down there, and I know it's down there, and I need to find it. And he tries to reason with them. He tries to make peace between them and the humans, because they are on the side of, obviously, like, this was our planet first, and the humans need to go. And the planet,
they're not wrong.
Yeah, well, the humans are on the side of, obviously, like, we live here, and you are threatening us. You need to go. And the Doctor is just trying to be, like, the peace between the two. And it's, like, it's really interesting seeing that it's, like, they really just, like, reworked that plot.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
it's
essentially, well, that plot's essentially the Gaza Strip in alien form.
Yeah.
But, we were here first. Okay, we're here now. So, the alien lizards, that was the perfect
it brings you to the Zygons as well, because there was a very similar thing where it's like, why can't we just share the Earth?
Yeah.
And, like, in the Silurian episode, he asks them to be the best of humanity.
Yeah.
And they did not live up to that.
But yeah,
so
that was
negotiations could not go through.
That Day of the Doctor episode, to where they're just sitting down there. From now on, nobody's going to know if you're human or Zygon. That's how I fix this.
I loved that. I absolutely loved that.
The smugness on both their faces. And they're
then you've got Osgood, who's just, like, chill either way.
I love how the Osgoods became, like, the check and balance for that whole thing. Like, they became the fail-safe for it.
Yeah.
Because they both got along. And they were like, oh, well, clearly we know which one's real because this one has asthma and I don't.
I don't got asthma.
Huh, I can breathe perfectly fine. Can you? I'm having a little trouble over here.
You know what? I think that the other Osgood asked for the inhaler at some point. So you really couldn't tell, because, like, they are transposing themselves into like these existing humans, so they get the existing medical conditions. So it's nearly impossible to tell them apart.
Yeah, And that's brilliant writing there. And it's just with the new Who taking and that's the thing that the costume designers are taking it, because one of the older criticisms about Doctor Who was that how the aliens were all like floppy and really corny.
The Silurian costumes they used in the Third Doctor, I Snapchatted a scene of it because I just thought it was so silly looking.
And
like, you can see like the mesh on the eye holes and stuff, but obviously TVs back then were way lower resolution and they were like meant to be viewed that way. So like now we can see the details better.
In this episode, in the back behind the scenes, they had one of the people who do the costumes, and he was talking about how he had to make an alien costume that didn't look as real, and then one that looked a lot more believable. Right. And he had to make like multiple different kinds of this same alien costume.
The Zygons are interesting because they're kind of like, oh God, what were they called? From Raxacoricophalopatorius.
Yeah.
You remember those guys?
Yeah,
they wore like skin suits basically. And like it's kind of a similar concept for the Zygons, but the Zygons like actually transform like their being. Yeah. Instead of it's like I'm putting on like a human body basically.
They got the suckers too, which is kind of
a little weird.
Gross.
Oh my God, when it was Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And he's like, you kissed a Zygon.
You know you kissed a Zygon out of the two of them. that was brilliant.
Man.
That was brilliant. But I like where it's going. I mean, especially with the next episode, I think it's going to show us a lot more with the Doctor and Belinda getting into, especially with her being more of Indian descent and
him being.
I think this is going to be like the next perfect episode. How did they get Miss Flood involved? Besides
she's always
bringing
involved.
her into the end, where are we going to see her, more of her plot unveil,
I sure hope so, man. I've been waiting.
Is this giant spider they threw in the sneak peek, is that one of these primordials? Because he already fought and conquered death.
Yeah.
Is this like Arachnia, from like Greek lore?
Arachne, I believe her name was.
Yeah, Arachne. And is it Arachne? Is it, or where are you going with this? Especially if you're looking at primordial forces.
Yeah.
Where are we going? Where is this? How does this tie involved? Especially being in the setting it's in. I think it's going to be a very interesting episode. So I think it's going to be a classic, doctor nurse episode.
Yeah.
And it's going to be.
I honestly, I kind of hope Belinda sticks around for the next Doctor.
Yeah.
I know her whole thing is that she wants to go home, and she still hasn't changed her mind, but like I feel like she hasn't gotten enough, Obviously, we're only on episode 4 of this season, but
and they can do the thing that they're doing with Millie,
with Ruby,
and just bring her back, and just expand on this because she has a whole family, a life that she's trying to get back to. What happened on the 24th? Which also we
haven't seen any of. We haven't seen any of her family or anything. Like, obviously, we know she's got a job at a hospital, but, like, that's the most we really know about her.
Yeah, so that's the thing of I'm really going to be interested to see where...
And then, obviously, Mundy Flynn being her direct ancestor, whatever you want to call that.
I really think that there's a lot of answers that we're going to get in these last couple episodes that they're really going to push through. And I don't see them doing a regen this season. I think they're going to get Ncuti back for at least one more.
I sure hope so. I think
he'll do at least one more, because after 3, and this is a very like physically, demanding.
Yeah. They're on wires and everything.
Yeah, and it's a very physically demanding show. That's why Matt Smith, when he was talking to Capaldi, he was in a knee brace because he popped something in his knee because he was turning around. And he always
did do really dramatic turns. So.
A lot of dramatic turns, and it threw his knee out. But that's the thing. This is you're running. There's a lot of a toll on your body when you're doing all these action shots and running and jumping. And he's, the hardest one for him was probably Boom, because he had to stand on one foot for the whole thing.
No, because remember, because I just watched Boom. Mm-hmm. It was the like people tube. The girl's father.
Yeah.
John Vader, I think his name was. Mm-hmm. And Ruby handed it to him. And actually, that's another really funny one because they sang the Skyboat song again from Outlander. Again, that was the second time they've... And you know what? That makes me wonder if they're going to try to bring Jamie McCrimmon back.
So, well, that's the kind of thing. Is it a nice subtle nod, or is it
or
a
is
tell?
it like a plot line thing?
And that's the thing, that they play to all aspect of Who fans, to where one of my favorite things was there was an app on I had it on one of my old phones, but it would you'd type in and it would translate it into Gallifreyan.
Yeah. Oh.
So what somebody did...
I learned how to write my name in Gallifreyan when I was 15.
So what somebody did is, it was during Capaldi's run, they translated all the symbols on the TARDIS.
Oh.
They were all the names of his companions.
Oh.
Yeah, all of his companions all the way around. I will lose
it right here, right now.
Oh, my God.
Oh, but
it was so good.
The 1 foot thing, Ruby hands him, like, the compressed body of this man, so that he can shift his weight, so that he doesn't have to be standing on 1 foot the whole time.
Oh yeah, I mean, even still, just shooting that,
in a single crater for the entire episode, and they're just talking to each other. It's so fucking impressive.
And it's because it's not a lot of action, but there's a lot of tense and suspension.
Yeah, because obviously you've got, like, they're trying to draw the ambulance away from him at one point, and Ruby's got the gun, and Mundy's like, well, just shoot me in the arm, and then obviously Conan, whatever the fuck his name was,
boom,
comes up, and he comes up and he shoots Ruby, because he's like, she was gonna shoot you, but it's like, I told her to shoot me, dude.
Yeah, it's that classic, like, oh my God, I didn't know.
Yeah, and it's just immediately so sad, because, like, obviously Ruby's, like, dying, and the doctor is still talking to her directly the whole time. He's, like, working it out with his own. He's like, do you know what this means, Ruby? Do you know? And he just keeps addressing her, and she's, like, half lifeless on the ground and not responding, and it's so sad. Oh, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, and they love to play with your heartstrings, too.
They do.
They love playing with your heartstrings,
which isn't bad. They get me crying every time now.
And it's not a bad thing. It's one of the things that I do like about it. If they get the doctor to stop crying, that would be the big thing.
Again,
which he wasn't in it.
I was going to say, he wasn't in it. We didn't get a single tear this episode.
Crying-free episode this time, which was really good.
But I do really hope that it links back to, Mrs. Flood.
Yeah, I mean, like we're saying, they're messing with primordial forces, so tie all of that in there. Tie in the crying, maybe they messed with his emotions.
I've seen people saying that they think maybe Mrs. Flood is like the god of time, in the way that, like, Lux is the god of light.
I mean, well, if you're looking at primordial forces, there would be a god of time then. If
and,
there's
like,
a god
I
of
feel
sound.
Like immediately you just, like, kind of assume that the doctor might be, but, like, he's not, obviously.
Well,
it
depends. Are they retconning the Timeless Child? Because if they're retconning the Timeless Child,
they definitely aren't, because he still talks about it.
Yeah,
I've noticed him. That was his connection with Ruby, was that he was adopted.
Yes. Yeah, because he was adopted, and then they talked about that. But, like, that's to where you could do that. I don't see them doing that, but especially if it's like a time doctor. I'd like it to be Miss Flood over a turn, unless the doctor takes up that mantle, because he's got a number of titles already. I think that would be good, but having her as, like, the god of time, because that would really check his ego at the door.
Oh yeah,
especially after that David Tennant episode we talked about last time.
You've got the Time Lord Victorious speech where he's like, "The laws of time will obey me."
That's where I would like Miss Flood to just be there to knock his ass down, like, no, dear.
Well, she turned around and said, nobody should have that much power. And then R.I.P. destroyed her legacy.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, we're still going to see about Miss Flood. I just love every time I see her in the episode, no matter how much time it is.
I'm always waiting. Every episode, I'm like, all right, when is she gonna come in?
Especially
this time?
like this time, because I'm looking in the background. Maybe she's like sitting at the diner when they're there.
And then she lets this piece of shit out of jail.
Yeah, and now we're there.
I really hope he gets what's coming to him.
She's obviously doing something. I mean, I don't know if she's like collecting her own kind of Avengers to go against the Doctor, but she definitely wants that guy.
That's kind of what it
seems
like. She's like building a team against him.
Oh, God. Wouldn't be the first time.
No, it certainly
But this
wouldn't.
would be an original.
The Master did it as well with the with the Cybermen and the Daleks when he was with Jodie Whittaker and did the Force regeneration on her.
I would also like her to be some kind of Time Lord, to be you know a different version, because you had the Master.
That's why I found it interesting when she said she was the governor, because like sure, that could mean the governor of like this unit prison, she's making a joke, whatever, but it could also be I'm the governor of a prison on Gallifrey and you are a fugitive.
You know, and the Doctor, well, he's the president
of the world, of the Earth.
Of the Earth. He was also the president of Gallifrey for a little bit.
Yeah.
And having the governor, well, you had Corsair. You had these different people like the Doctor that maybe, you know, they had these interactions. Maybe they weren't traditional Time Lords like him, you know, having that. It's kind of like with Star Wars. You're like, nobody survived Order 66, and then they bring in Ahsoka. Okay, Rosario Dawson, we'll give you a series. Now she survived Order 66, and then, hey, look at this. We have this whole thing in the back canon with Clone Wars and all that. So having a different Time Lord, I don't think is that outside of the realm of possibility. No, I mean, have Miss Flood be this law and order, old-time, curmudgeon-y Time Lord from, like, the old Who, and putting his ass in check because he's just still running around the universe. He literally
stole a TARDIS.
He did steal it. I mean, it's not borrowing if you don't intend to give it back.
That's what the TARDIS told him.
You have to intend to give it back.
And she said, and I don't intend to give you back.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, it's like the car, you and the car loving it. All right, we're on this journey together, car. And, you know, the car's into it. So that's where I think there's going to be a lot of more legs in there. If you just, not all the time, but occasionally like this, have somebody be this Time Lord that you haven't even heard of. Because guess what? You want a spin-off series? A spin-off series with another Time Lord would probably work.
I'm still waiting for my Clara and Me spin-off.
I would like that one, too.
It would be so fun.
Because that TARDIS worked. They just kept it as the diner it's stuck as the diner in the end. It got stuck in the diner. That was another one that broke my heart when Clara couldn't remember, or when he couldn't remember Clara, and he's like, I feel like I'm missing something. And she's like, well, you know, whoever you're looking for, she could be me. Outside of Capaldi's regeneration speech, when,
never be cruel, never be cowardly.
Always try to be nice, but never fail to be kind.
Yep.
My second favorite Capaldi quote is, all stories ever told really happened. Stories are where memories go when they're forgotten.
So that takes me to a Doctor Who, Matt Smith quote where what was it? He said, "We're all stories in the end. Just make it a good one, eh?"
Yeah, and he's another one that had some really good quotable lines.
Really, really good.
Really good quotable lines. Capaldi was my dude. I really like him.
Matt Smith's regeneration was like some of the saddest shit. Because I was waiting for him to see Amy again because obviously he's like the first face this face ever saw.
Oh my God. Yeah. Especially when it was young Amelia and then you see grown up Pond. You're like,
says, hello, Raggedy Man.
Yeah. The goodbye episodes, I want Shooty to have a good one, but I think it would be, if he wants to tap out after 3 seasons.
Yeah, I really do hope we get him again.
You know, a lot. Season. I mean, I'd like him to go on longer, but you know, I mean, even Jodie, she had like 3.
They've got a bit of a formula at this point where it's like, you know, you'll give them 3 seasons, like after obviously.
I think it's a lot like the presidency. After a while, it's just let's cap it off.
Yeah, it starts to get
Peter
tiring.
Capaldi was just happy he could curse again after he got out because you can't curse if you're the Doctor.
Nah.
You know, all these kids watching this show.
I'm surprised that he didn't break that rule because you know, when he got stuck in the time dial.
Oh my God!
It literally is now like over 1 billion years old because he was just stuck in a
with
prison.
His fist going through diamond, and you're like, oh my God!
He figured it out though.
Yeah, and he always figures it out. He finds a way, and the time dial was another really good one. That was
those 2 episodes are called Heaven Bent and Hell Sent.
Yeah, and
I think they're maybe my 2 favorite Capaldi episodes.
Yeah, those are. Capaldi had a really good, like, suspenseful kind of like what's going. Especially after when you went from Clara to Bill.
Yeah.
And then having Bill just this one-off into Jodie, having this full reset.
I loved
Jodie was good because she had a gang, and we hadn't seen that since Tennant had Captain Jack and all
Rose
the Rose
and Mickey,
and that was like the old gang, because you got that in Old Who. You know, it was a couple companions traveling around with this old man in the blue box.
She usually has more than one. Right now, I'm at Liz Shaw and Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart are his current companions.
And him and Liz. And
Liz is great, by the way. I really love her character, and like the fact that she's like, obviously she's a scientist, so she's like really fact driven. So like for her to be like on almost his level with like her understanding of like these like obscure concepts.
Is Sarah Jane's the next companion?
Sarah after Liz? I'm not sure.
I know she's coming up.
I know that Sarah Jane travels with 4.
Yeah, she was in there with Baker.
Yeah.
And I think the 5th Doctor for a little bit?
Maybe. I know that Ace and Tegan are also in the 80s. But they're after. I think they're with the 5th and 6th Doctor.
Yeah. Because there was that crossover, too. Having a good companion crossover would be nice again. But we did just get that with Clara. So
we had that with David Tennant as well at the End of the World parts 1 and 2, when he kind of just gathers. Well, he doesn't gather them; they gathered themselves, and they're trying to contact him. And oh God, who was it? Who was the Prime Minister? Harriet Jones.
Yeah, and I thought about it. Matt Smith had a gang too, because he had Madame Vastra, the Sontaran. I forget his name.
Oh God, what was his name? Strax.
Love Strax. Boy, I'm a girl. Are you sure? Strax is one of my favorite characters. Bring back Madame Vastra too.
Yeah.
Bring back Vastra.
I love.
She's one of the best
fantastic.
characters. I loved Madame Vastra. I thought she was she was a great character. She knew the Doctor.
Her
she knew
whole
who he
speech
was.
for him in Demon's Run, when she's like, talking to him about like, could she have been like, could she have gotten pregnant on the TARDIS while in flight? And he's like, nah, totally not. And she's like, I think maybe you're wrong about that one, bud.
Oh yeah, well he tried. Bunk beds. Bunk beds are cool.
Bunk beds are not
cool. Not for a couple.
Not for
great.
Amy and Rory.
Bunk beds. Yay. Thanks, Doc.
Oh, man.
But it's been a great second episode. I think we're really excited for the next one. This season's cooking, and it's everything but abandoned in this season of the TARDIS. I think there's a lot of stuff in the oven.
So many people in there this season.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna get a lot of really great stuff, especially with Ruby. I don't think they brought her in the mix for no reason this episode.
I do think that we're gonna have more Ruby going forward.
I think we're gonna see more Ruby and Unit, definitely more Kate Lethbridge Stewart.
Love you.
And
love you, Kate.
I love the robot, man. He's just like, well, time to go. And he just dips down as soon as the alien goes out.
The blinks is great.
He just dips down like, uh-oh, alien's out, bye.
We are in lockdown. The blink's retreating.
Yeah. Like, wow, you son of a bitch.
Wow.
Just out for yourself. But that's how the aliens are, man. It's like, the English version of Men in Black. It wouldn't have been that Chris Hemsworth movie. It would have been Unit.
Yeah.
That's how it would have turned out.
Oh, man.
So we will see you fans on the next trip around the sun in this abandoned TARDIS. And make sure to comment below and let us know what you think. Make sure you go out and check out Sex Ed and everything in between with Brianna and Jillian. Make sure you hop on over to Lugnuts Podcast with myself and Big Brother, giving you all the latest in automotive news. We have our first trailer for a documentary, Lugnuts Podcast, Delco or Bust. Big Brother and myself went out to Delaware, Ohio, in the heart of Delaware County for the 30th anniversary for a charity car show last October, and this was our travels there. The trailer's out there. I'm working on the documentary, and we're working on a great time to let it out there and show it to the public. We got a whole bunch of stuff cooking over here at Perjangers and Wallhangers with concerts and community days and a lot of great stuff. So stay tuned to the social media. You'll find more episodes of the great podcast you love. Pop over to our main website, pjandwh.com, where you can just find all the podcasts. And then hop over to the podcast link. You'll find you click on those images. It'll take you to the playlist for the podcast. So you can consume all the sex ed and everything in between. Check out all the Tales of the Hunted interviews with myself and Frank Percy. And if you want to get silly, hop on over there to Silly Little Podcast with my friend Michael Florio and myself. The second image I did outside of this Tardis one, I actually typed into ChatGPT, and that's how I knew I could get this one, is I turned this into the image for Silly Little Podcast. As I just had this thought. Mm-hmm. And I like ideas like this because it's almost like the universe just throwing a dart. See if it hits him. Oh, got him.
Oh.
And it was the Earth unfolding like a transformer.
Okay.
And I typed that into ChatGPT, and it was a transformer with like half the world in the back and like some of it on the chest. And I was like, now that's silly. So you'll see the Silly Little Podcast promo picture on our website, which is the Earth as a transformer, because it's right along the lines of Silly Little Podcast. We talk about ancient aliens, we talk about ancient human beings, Egypt, current new technology. Mm-hmm. He and I send each other these articles that we see online to each other back and forth. I just saw one today. They're injecting gold into people's eyes.
Oh, very cool.
To restore vision.
Interesting.
So that's where you're going to find information like that on Silly Little Podcast and a whole bunch of more travels around in the TARDIS here.
And remember, there's always a twist at the end.
Always. One thing that's not going to twist you is that we love you, we miss you, and we want to see you next time in the TARDIS. Game on, boys and girls. Bye-bye.